Bill Maher is talking UFOs.
Finally, new rule given the increasing number in recent years of sightings by serious military personnel of unknown aircraft operating outside our current abilities. If at this point you don't believe aliens are here and observing us, maybe you're the conspiracy theorist.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Good Trouble Show. I'm Matt Ford. Bill Maher once again tackled a topic the mainstream media doesn't have the balls to talk about. UAP, otherwise known as UFOs. Here's HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher.
And it's serious people now. Not hippies or hillbillies, serious people. People with Mike Pence's haircut.
Serious people like former Navy Commander David Fravor testifying in front of Congress.
All four of us, because we were in F-18Fs, so we had pilots and Wizzo in the back seat, looked down a small, saw a white Tic Tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water like a ping pong ball. There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like wings.
And it's not just men with Mike Pence's haircut. Here is retired Navy pilot Ryan Graves at that same congressional hearing.
In 2014, I was an F-18 Foxtrot pilot in the Navy Fighter Attack Squadron 11. During a training mission in Warning Area Whiskey 72, 10 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, two F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter.
Another of our nation's finest. $10 million in flight training, flying a $67 million state-of-the-art Navy fighter, and they're saying that they are encountering UAP. You have to wonder, how often are U.S. Navy pilots seeing these things?
The Pentagon confirms these are images of objects it can't identify. Lieutenant Graves told us pilots training off the Atlantic coast see things like that all the time.
Every day for at least a couple of years.
Wait a minute, every day for a couple of years?
Mm-hmm.
So every day for 2 years, our naval aviators are having to dodge these things that are likely not from Earth.
But now they seem to be on to another phase. They seem to want to be spotted. Why else this constant playing peekaboo with our military?
Not just playing peekaboo, Bill. UAP are screaming for more attention than Pete Hegseth at happy hour. But joking aside, we do have a national security problem on our hands, and it's not just above Navy carrier strike groups. It's above our homeland.
Mystery drones over a major military base in the U.S. Waves of high-tech drones flying over a highly sensitive area. That base housing B-52 bombers and the Air Force's nuclear command.
Sophistication we see in both how the drones were employed and the kinds of drones don't point to some hobbyist. They point to a state actor.
Okay, so let me count this up. These things are operating above bases that house our nuclear command. They cannot be electronically jammed. They behave in ways we don't understand. And the Pentagon is suggesting these drones are from a state actor. What does Bill Maher think?
That's not a drone. That's not something from another country. Even Elon is like, not me.
Look, let's cut through the bullshit. These aren't drones, they are UAP. Remember back in the 60s when the U.S. Air Force told your grandmother that the flying saucer she saw was simply swamp gas? Well, drones are the new swamp gas. And these drones are not just operating above military bases, they're above our critical infrastructure. Nuclear power plants, water treatment plants, natural gas facilities, and even above small towns across America. Former Chief of Police of Ord, Nebraska, Chris Grooms, appeared on the Good Trouble Show. Grooms and his fellow law enforcement officers witnessed hundreds of these UAPs swarming small towns across Nebraska in 2019 and 2020. Law enforcement across the state had multiple close encounters with these things while responding to panicked 911 calls. While some appeared as conventional drones, many were anything but.
Ord, Nebraska, which was, the county seat of my county is Ord. It's about 2,200 people. They showed up over Ord. They showed up over Arcadia. which is 27 miles away from Ord, but it's still within Valley County. It's about 600 and some people. And that one of the nights that the sheriff and a few other law enforcement officers actually witnessed this with their own eyes, there was upwards of 50 of these things essentially surrounding the town of Arcadia.
Wow.
One of the call logs I gave you where it was a female officer in Ord that she actually was witnessing these things over the high school.
Silent. No noise, no propeller noise, the size of a pickup truck moving at speeds that a police cruiser maxed out at 107 miles per hour could not catch. And Grooms wasn't the only one seeing them.
And as I turned back left to look again, that thing flew right past me. I mean, 150 feet high, hauling, pardon my language, ass. It was moving so fast. And I estimate, as the time has went on, from the co-op tower to the junction is about 3/4 of a mile. I estimate that thing covered that distance in about 2 to 4 seconds. The other note that I'll make is whatever those things were that were flying around in Scotia, that 11 to 15 that were called in, when that big thing, which I consider it to be big because the light, it just seemed like the light altogether was about the size of my pickup truck.
50 of these things surrounding a town of 600 people. A police officer watching them hover over a high school. And it wasn't just Chief Grooms. I interviewed 3 other law enforcement officers who saw these things up close, and they all said the same thing. These things were not drones. They were not from Russia or China. They were something that did not appear to be from this earth. And here's the real elephant in the room. Where is the Department of Homeland Security on this? UAP, the size of pickup trucks operating above America's homeland and above our military bases, fall under the jurisdiction of DHS, and they are AWOL on this national security threat. Perhaps they should spend money on figuring out what these things are instead of spending it on a Kristi Noem remake of Blazing Saddles. If the Pentagon is lying to the American people and DHS is busy making feature films, are members of Congress paying attention?
It's not weirdos and beardos saying this. It's the guys with buzz cuts and security clearances who are spilling the tea. And politicians who you don't think are crazy people, like Chuck Schumer, Harry Reid, Marco Rubio, Kirsten Gillibrand. They're not disputing it.
Not only are they not disputing it, they are also writing congressional legislation on it. Senators Schumer, Rounds, and Gillibrand wrote 63 pages of legislation on UAP. This legislation used the phrase non-human intelligence over 20 times. And trust me, they are not talking about ChatGPT.
If you don't believe me now, you will in June when Steven Spielberg's movie called Disclosure Day comes out. This on the heels of the documentary from last year called Age of Disclosure. You get it? Disclosure? We're at the disclosure moment in human history.
Bill Maher is right. We are at disclosure. But here's the thing. Which version of disclosure? Version 1 is what the government whistleblowers tell you. UAP are real. They are not piloted by humans. They tamper with our nuclear weapons. Our military regularly baits them into crashing, picks up those crashes, sends them off to private aerospace to be reverse engineered and weaponized. And oh, by the way, the government does some really fucked up things to whistleblowers when they decide to blow that whistle. Version 2 from the government goes like this. These are all drones. We don't know what they are. Maybe it's China, maybe it's Russia, could be Iran. We are still trying to figure it out. Nothing to see here, folks. Move along. And that UFO legislation, that pesky legislation by Schumer, Rounds, and Gillibrand, who needs it? We've got this under control. And those whistleblowers, those American veterans testifying in front of Congress that we have a UAP crash retrieval program, don't pay attention to them. They're just trying to make a buck off of book deals. Version 3. Well, version 3 is Vice President J.D. Vance's favorite, which says UAP are all demons. I know, that's J.D. Here's the thing. The government knows disclosure is coming, and they are doing everything to make sure it happens on their terms. That UAP legislation forcing government's transparency, quietly killed by Senate leadership. And the whistleblowers who have sacrificed everything to bring you the truth? In the coming months, you will see former Pentagon officials come out of the woodwork, along with UAP articles out of the Wall Street Journal and others, targeting the credibility of government whistleblowers. And now you know why. Folks, they are lying to you. Don't buy the bullshit.
Cut the crap. They're here. They came in a sphere. Get used to it.
Actually, more like an egg.